Hello, everyone. How are you? I have to tell you that I am missing you something terrible. That I keep thinking about all of the people and all those beautiful faces that I miss seeing. And I have a hard time doing my talk to a telephone or to a computer. I have a really hard time with that. But let's give it a go. Okay, so I wanted to talk about just that we are stuck inside. We are stuck doing the blah blah blah, the blah 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 of being human, the regular things of getting up, brushing our teeth, getting ready for the day, proceeding on our day, whether we go to work or we don't, but proceeding with something that's kind of a regular thing, and then coming home at night, having dinner, going to bed, watching TV, and starting it all over the next day. What a boring existence. So we have been stuck in this kind of boring existence for 6 months. And I hate that. But the part I hate the most is the blah, blah, blah. That just same old boring stuff that we do over and over and over again. So I don't like that. That is not fun. That is not something I want to do. That is not the truth about us. So I started thinking about that, and I remember, just remember. We remember and then we forget, and then we have to remember again. We are divine beings having a human experience. Let me tell you again, we are divine beings having a human experience. And in this human experience, we forget that we're divine beings. Now, I have to say that if we recognize that all of the time, we'd want to go back. That there would be nothing that could keep us here because we would so miss our divine home. And so we would want to go back there. But we forgot that. And so at this time, we are stuck in the blah, blah, blah of just everyday stuff. And we don't get to do the fun things like going to church, being with our friends, going to class, seeing our neighbors do stuff, meeting our friends for coffee, having all of those regular experiences that have become part of our lives. And those are the colorful part of our lives, the part of our lives that we love, the part of our lives that pull us out of the blah, 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 and just that basic existence. So I want to tell you this, I want to talk to you about this reading. So Ernest Holmes said, break the bonds of apparent necessity and see life as one continuous expression of the infinite self, the divine self, okay? And as this conception gradually dawns upon the inner thought, something will happen in the outer conditions to relieve the greater demands of necessity. So what he's saying is that we're taught that we need to keep our noses to the grindstone, that suffering is good, that we need to do the necessary things, and if we're suffering from it, so what? That's what we're supposed to do. So we are often taught that as small children, that suffering is noble, that suffering, that you pay for your existence, that you pay for your spot in heaven by suffering. Well, baloney. I don't believe that, and Ernest Holmes certainly didn't believe that. He believed that we were here on this earth to learn lessons, and that we were just temporarily here, but that spirit that was the divine is still within us. So a lot of the time it is covered over by this body. It is covered over by circumstances. And I know that suffering is way overrated. So on one of the times that I had cancer, I was given some medication that made me really sick. And it made my joints hurt like the dickens. And it made me feel bad all over. Now, was I a glad sufferer? No. When I am suffering, I get really irritable. I may not, whine and cry, but I am really irritable. I am like a porcupine. Don't come close because I'm going to poke you. So my husband knows, stay away from me when I'm sick. When I'm not feeling good, stay away. It just doesn't pay to come close. So is that noble? Is that fun? Am I earning a place in heaven by that? I don't think so. I don't think that that's true. So I am not earning a place in heaven by being miserable, by suffering. And I don't think that the divine ever intended for these sparks of divine to suffer. That wasn't what was intended. We are not meant to suffer. We are meant to enjoy the bounty of the divine. So Ernest Holmes is saying, change your mind. Change what you think about this, because you are not intended to suffer. You are intended to explore the gifts. You are intended to love the gifts that you are given. So think of it this way. Does God put one leaf on a tree and say, okay, you got enough? Does he put enough for shade on the tree? Does he just put enough to shade the trunk? No. Is there only enough sand on the beach for a few people to sit there? Is there only enough sand so that one person can make a sandcastle? Of course not. No. So we are intended to have the gifts because we are part of that divine. We are part of God. Now, do we cover it over and hide it? Oh yes, we're really good at that. So this envelope, this vehicle that is used to carry my spark from one place to the other, this vehicle that is used to communicate with one another, this vehicle is only a vehicle. It's not the end all and be all. Because when I'm done here, I am going back to the divine, where I was originated. That's where I came from. That's my true home. I live in the divine presence. I live in that space of God. So he says, Ernest Holmes said, free yourself forever from the thought that God may be pleased by a life of sacrifice, and that the world is any better because of your misery, or that righteousness is more perfectly expressed through poverty than abundance. He says, let go of that. That is not the truth. It is not true that God is not happier when his precious children are suffering. God is happy when we are happy, when we are at peace, when we are living the life of the divine child. So you and I we all have children. If we don't have children, we are around children. And any child that I'm around, I want to do well. I want that child to have everything. I want that child to be happy. And I am nowhere near, in this earthly form, I am nowhere near as good or as big or as generous as the divine. So if I, in my meager earth form, feel like I want to bless and protect my children or any child I'm around, wouldn't the divine want to do so much more? Wouldn't the divine wish so much more for us, the precious children? Of course it would. Okay? So Ernest Holmes goes on and he says, know that the greater abundance of every good thing which you are bringing out in your life, the more perfectly you are satisfying the divine urge within you. The greater abundance that we create, the more of the good things that we have, we are satisfying a divine urge, that the divine wants us to have this, wants us to experience this, wants us to be blessed by all of the gifts of the kingdom. When you are blessed by the gifts of the kingdom, aren't you happy? When you are able to bless others with the gifts of the kingdom, don't you feel good? Don't you feel satisfied? Isn't that what's satisfying? When you are blessed and then you are able to bless others, that's the good stuff. That is the good stuff. So Ernest Holmes goes on and he says, anything you can dream of is not too great for you to undertake if it hurts no one and brings happiness and good into your life. So think of that. Anything that you can dream of is not too great. So my topic was celebrating life. And how do we celebrate life more than creating good, putting good in mind first? So just think about this. If we have an idea, trust me on this, most ideas are divine ideas, that we are connected. And when we have an idea to be able to do something, to be able to create something, to be able to know something, that idea is a divine idea. So when we have this divine idea and we begin to create, we are fulfilling our destiny. We are fulfilling what it means to be the divine being or the divine spark, that divine presence, having a human experience. That's what it means, because these divine ideas come to us, and so often we do nothing. We just sit there and go, well, whatever. Somebody ought to do that. Yeah. Maybe the somebody is you, because we have thousands of ideas. And yet, how many of them do we act on? Every once in a while, we act on one. But we have thousands of ideas for a reason, so that something will resonate with us. And when it does, we are blessed by it. So what we want to focus on is the good, okay? We could focus on the miserable. But when we do that, what are we inviting to us? We are inviting the miserable to us. But when we focus on the good, we are inviting the good. And we are entitled to the good. Think about that. We are entitled to the good. Ernest Holmes said, anything you can dream of is not too great. Anything you can dream of is not too great. So let's get a little practice at this. Let's pay attention to these thoughts and ideas that come to us. Pay attention to the idea and then focus on it. Fill it out. So if it might begin as just a fragment a piece of an idea. In order to fulfill that idea, what's it going to take? Concentrate and focus on your divine idea. And let go of the thought of failure. Let go of the thought of not being enough, of not being able to do something, of not having the wherewithal to do something. Because every divine idea comes with everything it needs to be created. It just needs to be nurtured. So it's just like a seed. So when we plant a carrot seed, everything within that tiny seed is there to create a carrot. Everything. And what we need to do is tend to it. So we have to plant it in fertile soil. So think of it this way. I am the fertile soil. When you have a divine idea, you are the fertile soil. Plant that idea in your consciousness. Plant that idea and then focus on that idea. Spend time every day caring for that idea. Spend time every day filling that divine idea out. And then one day, guess what? A door opens and there's the opportunity to use this beautiful idea that started out as just a fragment or a seed. And now I'm able to use this amazing idea because I nurtured the seed. So what we focus on is what we create. What we usually focus on as humans are the things that we don't want to create, the misery and the suffering. So we want to turn it to the celebration of those things that we do want to create. Let's concentrate on those things we do want to create. We want to concentrate on this beautiful idea that is a divine idea planted so that we could create a magnificent experience, so that we could create something wonderful out of this divine idea. So I love the idea of a seed being planted, and I know that each of you has seeds that want to be born. So focus on the good. So at this time when we've got so much going on and so little happening, let's focus. This is the time to focus. This is the time to pay attention to your good idea. So if you have a good idea, write it down. If you have a good idea, expand on that. Flesh it out. What does it need? Create fertile soil so that your great idea begins to grow. And as it grows, it begins to attract opportunities for expansion. It begins to attract opportunities to be planted in a bigger pot, to be planted in more fertile soil. So think of that you are the nurturer of this amazing seed. I know you can do it. I know that you have it within you. So from the Bible, the reading today from the Bible, from Isaiah, they will not labor in vain or bear children for calamity, for they are the offspring of those blessed by the Lord, and their descendants with them. So think of that. We will not labor in vain or bear children for calamity. So don't worry. Let go of all that. We are that. We are the divine. We are the chosen. We are the chosen of the Lord. We are the blessed. And it goes on, it will also come to pass that before they call, I will answer. And while they are still speaking, I will hear. Now, isn't that perfect for your divine idea? Isn't that perfect for something you want to nurture? Yes. Before they call, I will answer. The answer is in the idea that the whole thing is right there, and you simply need to nurture it and hold it and expand on it, and it opens for you. So let's go within. And I know for each one of you that each of you is blessed. Each of you is that divine spark that is absolutely connected to God always. And that when we have a divine idea, that divine idea is a God idea. That divine idea is a perfect seed ready to be planted. And I absolutely know that each one of us has that perfect seed. Each one of us is the amazing being that allows the divine to express through each of us. And I give thanks for that. I am so grateful. I am so grateful for each of you. I am so grateful for your divine ideas. I am so grateful for the love of the divine. I am so grateful to be in this space at this time. And I thank God for all of that. And so it is. And I thank you for listening to me today and allowing me to speak to you. And I know that there are better days ahead, but I want to hear about your divine ideas. So blessings to every one of you. I love you, and I can't wait to see you again. So I know it's not going to be a long, long time. We'll get a hold of this, and then we'll move on. And we'll just look back at it as an experience. So thank you for being with me today.